Welcome to my channel. My name is Spade Parkland. Welcome to Parkland Media. This video contains my fan theory for the show From on MGM+. This video contains spoilers. This video was not made from anything from MGM+ exclusive content. If the theory holds true, I just got it right. Subscribe, click the notification bell, thumb up the video, share your social media. If you want to support me and support the channel, you can join the channel membership, and or you can also support with the super thanks that is near the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the comment section. Tabitha is in the basement. In this reality, she's walking up the steps in her home. As she's walking up, she's walking in the steps. You see the wooden steps right there. As she continues to walk, she starts to go up the steps of the lighthouse. She's walking up, she's walking up. As she's walking up the steps, she's also outside. It's impossible for her to have walked up the steps in the basement and then immediately go outside. What I believe that we're seeing are three different Tabithas. There's a Tabitha walking up the steps in the basement. There's a Tabitha in the lighthouse, and there's a Tabitha outside. We are seeing three different instances of Tabitha, but she's experiencing all three at once. As she walks up, she's outside looking around. She's also walking up the steps of the lighthouse. She's perceiving being in all three places at once. And the reason why I don't believe this is a delusion or her dreaming is because when she's outside, she's not holding anything in her hand. Also, she's wearing a blue jean jacket. When she was in the basement going up the steps, she was holding a lamp in her hand. Three different Tabithas. In this shot, she's walking upward and she's walking up the lighthouse. Three different instances of Tabitha where she's perceiving all three, but all three are doing different things. She's walking up, she looks down. She doesn't appear to be confused about where she's at in the lighthouse. So here's the sound while Tabitha is outdoors, and it's also juxtaposed to when she's inside the lighthouse. So we hear the horn while she's outside, and we also hear the horn while she's going up the steps of the lighthouse. At this point, the main Tabitha is in all three instances at once, in the basement, in the lighthouse, outdoors. And we hear the lighthouse horn for all three instances that she's experiencing at once. So now she sees the toys that are on the ground.
Ethan, I told you to pick up the toys.
The reason why she's yelling to Ethan to pick up the toys is because in this lighthouse version of Tabitha, Ethan is in the lighthouse with her. She goes and she picks up the toys, cleaning up after Ethan. She knocks over a bottle. This is letting us, the audience, know that the bottle associated with the bottle tree that I believe is associated with time travel, that this is a alternate timeline, and that's the significance of the bottle in this shot.
Can somebody grab that, please?
When Tabitha looks down and sees the bottle going down, when she says, "Can somebody grab that, please?" In this timeline, the Matthews live in the lighthouse. We're going to compare season 1, episode 9 lighthouse right here on the right to season 2, episode 10 lighthouse here on the left. No volume. She's going up the lighthouse, going up, looks down. There's toys there. The fire truck, the ball, the card, and the book. She goes up. Now, if you notice, The ambulance is by itself all the way to the left. But on season 2, episode 10, they're all together in a group. We even see the cards face up. She picks up the ball, picks up the book, knocks over the bottle. Whereas there isn't a book in episode 10 of season 2. So she's going up. This is season 10 on the left there. She's going up. She's going up. It's in a group in this shot. In a group. She looks up. Looks up. The years that we saw on season 1, episode 9 should be right there for season 2, episode 10, but they're not there. Now we see the years above her head as she's starting to go to the top. Toys in a group on the lower left-hand corner, as opposed to the ambulance being separate over there from the rest of the toys. And I believe this is foreshadowing. This Tabitha is going to need the ambulance, whereas the Tabitha from this instance of season 1 did not need the ambulance. So this Tabitha did need the ambulance. So that's why it was over there in the corner by itself. This Tabitha in the main timeline needs the ambulance. And that's the reason why the ambulance is close to the toys right over here on the left-hand side. Season 2, episode 10, there's no bottle. However, there was a bottle in this instance. She's going up. Episode 10, season 2 on the left there. Not a single year written. Season 1, episode 9, there were years there, but season 2, episode 10, there's no years. And you can tell she's close to the top because the ceiling is low and you see a ladder in the next shot. She's going, she's going. So Jim is towards the top of the lighthouse. She's going up, sees the toys, the hospital truck. Is close to the toys. She's looking up. All right, so she's passing the toys right now. As soon as she passes the toys, she's like right there at the top. And then there's the ladder. Whereas if you go to season 1, that tower hits the bottle, it goes down. After the toys, there's one flight of stairs before you can see the low ceiling where the years should be. She's going up. She's going up. She should be at the very top right there. And then we have our years. Jim is to the right of the ladder that leads to the very top of the lighthouse. Because where Jim is at, you can kind of barely see it. You can barely see it. But this is the ladder right here. The ladder is to the left of Jim. He's hanging from kind of like the top of the tower. But in the main timeline, she makes it to the top, no problem. So season 2, episode 10, she climbs the ladder, makes it to the top. She never makes it to the top, and that's the ladder right there, to the left of Jim. So the toy placement is different from season 1, episode 9 to season 2, episode 10. No years in season 2, episode 10. Let's go through season 2, episode 10 one more time. She's going up. She doesn't even touch the toys. No bottle there. No years on the low ceiling right there to her right. For those who believe that maybe it was a camera angle issue, we should have at least been able to see 1864, but we couldn't see that. So no years whatsoever. And I believe this is a different lighthouse than we saw in season 1, episode 9. So 3 Tabithas, 2 lighthouses, 2 Thomases. You hear that?
Jim?
Telephone ringing. Then you hear a baby.
Drop the kids, there's something wrong.
This is the sound of Thomas crying, and we hear the telephone. This is from season 1, episode 9, Into the Woods. This is foreshadowing that the Thomas that passed away in the main timeline is going to call them in their timeline and talk to him on the phone.
Jim, answer me! Jim?
So as Tabitha goes up the lighthouse, she's yelling to Jim, "Jim, answer me," while she's holding the lamp. This is not Tabitha responding to Thomas crying and yelling for Jim. This is Tabitha responding in that in this timeline, this is my theory, in my opinion, in this timeline, they live in the lighthouse. That's why she's so comfortable being there, and it's clearly dark outside. So in this timeline, it's dark outside. They live in the lighthouse. The telephone that's ringing and the baby crying is foreshadowing the Thomas from this timeline where the Matthews live in the lighthouse. Thomas is alive. And the Thomas from this timeline in this lighthouse with this family who feels so comfortable being in the lighthouse at nighttime is going to call the phone that Jim answers. This is an alternate timeline, and in this timeline, Thomas is alive. That's the reason why the baby is crying and we hear the phone ringing while she's going up the lighthouse. She goes up, she goes up. And there we see the dates behind her. We see 1506. 1864, 1609, 1931, 1752, 1888, 1978, 1672, and I believe that's 12, maybe 1275. Can't really tell. Appears to be maybe 1273 or maybe 1793. Can't really tell from this blurry shot. Tabitha looks up and she sees Jim hanging upside down, similar to the Confederate soldiers that were being hung upside down. He has a light on him. He's hanging upside down. And I believe that this Jim actually lives in the lighthouse. He's being hung upside down because this is a part of some type of ritual and they're under attack. So what I believe is that, and this is just a theory, could be far-fetched, but I believe that in this timeline that we're looking at where the Matthews are in the lighthouse, I believe that they live in the lighthouse, or at least they dwell in there long enough for Ethan to have toys there. I believe that these Matthews were unalived by some evil entity. Thomas from this timeline, this reality, is phoning the Matthews to warn them to avoid them suffering the same fate that the Matthews suffered in this timeline where we see them with the lighthouse. The Union soldier with the white eye that was possessed, whatever happened to him where he got possessed and he hung the Confederate soldiers upside down to do some type of ritual to have the blood bleed out from them for the symbol. That's what happened to the Matthews in this timeline, where they were living in the lighthouse, and that the alternate Thomas is calling to warn them so that they did not suffer the same fate. And that's the reason why we hear the phone ring and we hear the baby crying. And that's foreshadowing that Thomas, not the Matthews Thomas from the main timeline, but alternate Thomas is going to call the Matthews and warn them and give them a heads up. The entity that's on the phone could be an evil entity. It may not be an alternate Thomas. I understand that. I just do not believe that an entity would actually need to gain the Matthews' trust and trick them and have them suffer when the entity actually was correct in that Tabitha was in the back of the ambulance needing help. I still believe that it's an alternate Thomas from a different timeline, like the one we see here in the lighthouse. The reason why Thomas sounds sinister, sounds mean, sounds evil is because this is an individual similar to Victor, who was raised in a hostile environment of Fromville. He was not given the same socialization you and I were given. And it's almost like he's raised by, let's say, evil forces or hostile people, maybe even creatures or monsters. So he's not going to be socially acceptable as far as mannerisms and as far as behavior like a normal individual. He's going to be someone who's adapted to the harshness of Fromville.
The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera.